At my home on the Shenandoah River in Virginia, I have noticed that something happens to my perceptive focus when the season changes from the luscious weightiness of green to the stark grays and browns of what I have heard people call the stick season. Sticks. That doesn't sound too interesting, does it? Yet, I've discovered some things about this visually quieter time of year that have really surprised me, or at least they have reminded me of things that I have ignored for too long. Look at that. If you are new to my channel, I am pastel artist Debbie Harding. Join me today on Pastel Tapas, exploring a bit of the Virginia winter landscape, and also see highlights of my resulting pastel demo inspired by this narrow palette of color that, paradoxically, has expanded my perceptions. Along the way, I will share with you 5 things that I have learned from this experience. I chose this frosty landscape mainly because I was so enthralled with the sensation of cold that this image conveyed. This is the palette that I picked out. Anyway, I'm very excited about this. This is going to be so different. I often ask myself questions when I paint to try and decide what it is about the scene that tells me important facts about it. What tells me that something has shape or depth? Why do I think this looks cold? My first observation was that it was a very monochromatic and very blue image. In keeping with this theme, on a cloudy, wintry day, Casey and I had an idea. Let's take a walk on that gravel road that's just beyond the mill. We have driven on it numerous times, especially during Virginia bluebell season. But a walk in the snow, now there's an idea. I love it, and it's a great slow way to make new discoveries. So we're very excited to be taking a walk down this road for a little something different in the snow. Wow, that's quite a log. Man, that's huge. My first thought was that when I paint this, I was going to use mostly blues. And the more I worked, the more I was able to see other subtle colors peeking out here and there. So that would be number 1 in my surprise. I learned that painting in a monochromatic way really forces you to look for other subtle colors. I had a whole row of blues. They looked so similar, but there were differences, and I had to pay attention to that. This tree has some green on the side of the trunk down there. Do you see that green on the side of the tree? Yep. Let's go see what it is. Well, it looks like it's some lichen. Our monochromatic day just got more colorful. Casey just pointed that out. There's actually moss mixed in with it too. That looks neat. What wonderful patterns it makes. Every now and then there's a composition that just speaks to my heart, and this is it. I guess I love peeking through things and seeing something in the distance, and that's certainly what's happening here. Those trees on the other bank are just excellent. Did you ID the bird?
Yeah, it's a dark-eyed junco, a Carolina wren, northern cardinal, white-breasted nuthatch, downy woodpecker, and a white-throated sparrow.
No kidding.
They're all of them.
The only one I was really paying attention to was the wren. Wow, there were a lot.
It just so happened that this brown paper was the only color I had for today, and I wasn't very excited about it at first, but the longer I worked, the more I loved having that brown color peeking through under those bare sticks. So obviously when you're out in nature and you're close up, you can see the other color. But even in my reference video here, you can see subtle browns and even some subtle purples. Look at those shadows. I don't know. Does a limited palette make things seem noisier? Winter is not just about the sticks and the brown. I am stating the obvious here, since a good part of this video is about my snowy pastel painting, and you, no doubt, have experienced this too. But why do we sometimes need to state the obvious to break us free of a box we have put ourselves into? Okay, one of my very happy discoveries is number 2. What may seem monochromatic one day will change dramatically with lighting. And you know, snow doesn't just add to the beauty, it really multiplies it. No matter what your preconceived notions are about the color of winter, there's always something there to surprise. And the monochromatic days will give way to sun and shadow and dramatic color. A third surprise for me was, well, maybe not so much a surprise, but certainly a strong affirmation of a maxim that I tend to take for granted, which is, when colors and hues are so restricted, value becomes more obvious and therefore much more necessary.
When all of these trees and bushes are green and you drive down this road, you can hardly see the river.
It is this key characteristic that allows for our eyes to see the individual components of the composition. With restricted color, we have to depend so much more on other cues. I thought for sure I would have to keep everything blue and snowy white to pull off a feat such as rendering that strong sensation of the bitter cold. I wasn't really thinking about the light and shadow too much. Stepping back to look at my progress, I realized my folly. I was neglecting the shadows. I think I started out on the right foot. I put down darks, but then I kept working and working and working and working on the snow. The clear, clean white on the left was beginning to morph into one bright blob.
Peeking through. Oh. That was a heron.
I was having trouble differentiating between the layers of trees. These are the times when I ask myself, why? Why do I see individual trees in the photo, but not in my pastel? Well, Clearly, it had to be because of missing some shadows. Not all shadows are very dark, though.
Oh, there it is. Oh, yeah.
I think that is one thing that threw me off. Snow shadows have those lovely blues and purples, so I added more here and there to help some tree edges to stand out from others. All through the painting process with a piece like this, as monochromatic as it was, I had to really pay attention to design and texture to get my point across. These two facets, along with paying attention to value, are the things that I really focused on a lot in this piece.
Look at how those two trunks, they just rise up there in a big hug almost. That's amazing. Look at how that tree just leans way over like that.
On a monochromatic day, you can pay attention to a lot more than just color. Finally, my last surprise for me sums it all up, because it is a kind of foundational attitude.
We just pointed out a poison ivy vine growing up there, because even though there are no leaves on it, you can tell because it's very hairy. The little mnemonic is, if it's hairy, it's scary.
As an artist, I have been very focused in the past on dramatic lighting, and now, almost contradicting one of my earlier points, my final discovery is a bit of a paradox.
One of the things that I love so much about the day after a snow is to come out and see how the snow is just clinging to the sides of the trunks.
If we restrict ourselves to only certain times of the day, or particular weather conditions, or the needing of any sort of phantasmagorical feature in our environment, it contradicts the whole idea of being surprised. What is a surprise, after all? Isn't it becoming aware of something unexpected?
Oh, isn't that neat? Wow. Oh, I like it. And you know what's also cool is right between it, right here, is the little farmhouse. Wow. It's kind of neat how just taking a couple steps in one way or the other makes a very interesting shot like that. So let's examine this thing over here. It's definitely not the tree. There's vines growing up on it. It's probably one of our scary ones. Oh yeah. Now see, I'm so glad I learned this. You see the hair on that? If it's hairy, it's scary. So there are other mnemonics. When you see the leaves, if there are 3, let it be. And it has white berries on it at one point too. So If it's white, it's a fright. They got you covered for all times of the year with poison ivy around here. That is very interesting. I love looking in close at the patterns, and it looks like the bugs are having a day on it. Look at that. Yeah. Got a little goopier since we got here. I think when they plowed it, they started the process. This is so fun. I just love being outdoors. It's like my happy thing when I can explore and look for new things.
My goal in Pastel Tapas is to invite you to the places and events that inspire my painting. You know, I'm often asked, how long did it take you to paint that? Well, I hope that as you watch my process from the beginning inspiration to the end result, it will help give a feel for how wonderful and broad a genuine art experience can be. And I am so happy that you have joined me today on this adventure.
But I was just walking up here and I noticed how pretty this blue and gray house looks with the red mill.
Cat all at the top end,
Oh, you know what?
unless it's fake.
It's fake. That cat has been sitting there for over 2 years.
So looking back on our walk, I have to admit, I was a bit disappointed at first seeing how gray everything looked. Dramatic lighting that I typically chase was a bit limited on this day, and not flaunting itself to shine a spotlight on anything at all. It wasn't long before I realized, however, that this really is a perfect situation to illustrate the joy of opening my eyes to new things, to anticipate a new surprise, and embrace some new awarenesses. Since a key theme in this painting is about experiencing and enjoying a monochromatic look for a change of pace, I couldn't have had a better monochromatic day presented to me. So I hope you are well, and I look forward to seeing you the next time because there's more to come. Bye-bye.